Well, thanks everyone for coming out today. We're really excited about this year, being our 5th year in the conference. We are hoping for, number one, a healthy year, and we like our depth. We like our pitching staff, position players, nice mix of veterans as well as new players on the team, high character kids, talented on the field and off. So we look forward to a very productive season. Excited about it.
Joe, last year injuries played a pretty big part of your season, particularly with the pitching staff. You mentioned having a healthy year. How is the prognosis, at least early on as you head into the season? And you have to be pretty excited about getting some of those guys back, right?
Well, when you look at the notes that were distributed today, 3 of the top 4 or 5 members on there have an asterisk next to their name, which we didn't have last year. So when you add that quality to what we have returning, it's a different team. The complexion of the team is completely different. So health is going to be a major piece of it. We didn't get hit by the Major League Draft this year, unexpectedly, I would say. That really hurt us last year. Entering into last season, when you look at what we had on paper prior to the June draft, maybe one of the most talented teams we ever had here. Following the draft and then the subsequent injuries to Derek West and Blair Calvo, and then also David Yanni after the second weekend, our roster just can't handle those types of moves. Matt was coming off Tommy John heading into last year. Not a starter at first, but he was pretty much thrust into that role along with Josh Mitchell. So we had a lot of moving parts, whereas this year we're healthy. We're in good shape in terms of depth, not only from a position player perspective, but from a pitching side, although there's some youth in there. That's always a question mark, but very talented young men. So going into this year, yeah, it's from my perspective, it's an exciting time to see this play out on the field.
Matt, you had Tommy John. How do you feel after that, and do you feel stronger at all? What exactly does Tommy John do? Does it prevent further, or does this make you stronger?
Well, I had Tommy John in May 2015, so this is going to my 2nd full year healthy. So going into last year, it was just all the recovery and everything, rehab. I mean, it brought me back completely healthy. I was fortunate to have Dr. Andrews do my surgery, so I knew I was in the best hands. And then they always say 2 years out, that's the best you feel. And as of now, I mean, this is the healthiest and strongest I've ever been.
You're almost 3 years out then, right?
Yeah, almost. So looking forward to the season.
Frank, what makes this season, what's different? Is there a different feel, like Joe was saying, good for you?
Absolutely. I think being my 5th year here, this is more depth than I've seen, especially in a position player sense. I think there's a greater distribution of talent across the board. I think we have a unique combination of experience and newcomers that'll, really give us a great chance to have great success this season.
Matt, your mom introduced you to baseball? Is that true?
I mean, both my parents did. I mean, my dad's probably not going to like this, but my mom was the more athletic one in the family.
Oh.
So
wait till I see him.
Wait until he sees this interview. But, I mean, both of them played a huge role in my baseball career. her mental side, pushing me on and off the field, in school, just providing me with all the opportunities I needed. I mean, without them, I probably wouldn't be here today.
You said Sylvester Stallone would play you in a movie?
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. It's probably something my teammates would say. I have no idea.
Tony Montana.
Where did your mom play?
She didn't play in college. I mean, it's just high school. But my aunt played collegiate athletics, and my grandfather was a pitcher, so just kind of runs in the family on my mom's side.
Frank, your sister plays softball, right?
Yes, my sister played 4 years at the University of Notre Dame.
Is she a better ball player than you?
She will tell you no, but I think she'd put up a good fight. I mean, she went on to play USA Women's Baseball and 2 World Cups after that. But I mean, having her as the pioneer and the trailblazer, it made it almost guaranteed that I was just set to follow in her footsteps. And I got my 2 little younger brothers that are following behind me. So I'm blessed to have both her and my brothers.
Joe, who are your weekend pitchers this year?
We're going in. Matt's going to be our Friday night guy to open up the year. Then we'll follow with Blair Calvo, Danny Hammer, and Derek West, 2 of which were not with us last year. And then we'll take it week by week just to see. Again, we have to be sure that Blair and Derek ease into it, simply because this will be the first collegiate pitch that Derek has executed in his 3rd year here. He came in with Tommy John, had the ACL repair last year, so he hasn't been in a competitive situation, so we're going to have to just test those waters. But he's a big arm and has great potential. Same thing with Blair. Tommy John this past year, and we're building up his strength, making sure that he has the endurance that he needs, and don't want to overdo it too early, and make sure that as his pitch count increases and progresses over the course of the season, that he's peaking at the right time, hopefully when we're headed into the playoffs.
Tommy John's becoming a more common thing these days, isn't it?
Yes, and I think one of the most critical pieces of debate that we're having as not only college coaches, but I think in the high school ranks and also travel ball, is the overuse of the arm. And it was a very hot topic at our national convention. There's a lot of talk about how to monitor the use of the arm. There's some new products out there that, as a matter of fact, we are going to be using here as we progress, that it's a sleeve that you put on your arm that has a sensor on it that can measure not only the amount of pitches you're throwing, but the stress on the ligament, arm angles, etc. It's from a company called Modus Global. And that type of technology, I think, can help us, even with players that are coming into the program, so they're not overthrowing prior to getting here, so that we have these types of, we can prevent, hopefully. Some of them are unpreventable. It just happens. But if we can monitor a little more closely how they're doing up to getting here, maybe pull them back if necessary, that's a huge advantage, because I think it was Don Drysdale said, you're born with so many pitches in your arm. When you throw the last one, that's it. I think it's probably a little more complicated than that, and I'm not sure if that's exactly who said that, but I'm pretty sure. But my point is, it's a delicate thing, and if you don't take care of it, depending on how you're physically constructed, it could be one pitch, it could be 1,000 pitches, it could be any chance along the way that it could just go. And you have to be careful, and you have to take care of it.
All your pitchers will wear this sleeve then?
We have them, and we're going to slowly incorporate them. I think we do an incredibly solid job at monitoring and slowly progressing and logging all of their activity. Where we're concerned potentially is, in the summertime when they are not under our supervision, how much are they throwing in the? Now these guys are smart. Don't get me wrong. They're very aware of what they need to be doing. But when we can monitor how many pitches they're throwing in the summertime, and are they throwing their bullpens? Are they doing their throwing program? This sleeve monitors all of that. It's pretty exciting technology, and even if it's 75-80% accurate, it's still a helpful tool for us to keep tabs on what these guys are doing, and it works for position players as well.
First year you've used a sleeve?
This is the first year, yes.
Have schools been using it prior?
Yeah, it's one of the hot topics and hot products, I should say, in college baseball. Many major league teams have been using it now. It's a pretty interesting piece of equipment to take care of the arm. It's just another piece to that whole system of caring for the arm.
Frank and Matt, with both of your guys' careers winding down here at Pitt, what goals have you set for yourself individually and for the team this season?
It's definitely sentimental having your career, start to wind down here at Pitt. I've absolutely loved it here. Being an 18-year-old coming in and leaving as a 23-year-old, that's a big chunk of my life. That's half a decade. There's a lot of growth there, a lot of relationships that develop. And going into this last year, there's been a quote that's been resonating from a high school English teacher, actually, from Dylan Thomas. It's, "Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light." And I think that's a great theme that not only to carry personally, but with the guys that I'm leaving with as well. It's the fire should be burning brighter than ever now to leave our mark here and take this program somewhere it hasn't been.
Like Frank said, going into this last year, it's a bittersweet feeling knowing this will be the last year in the Pitt uniform. Been here 5 years, so there's a lot of experience that we've seen, a lot of upperclassmen that we've learned from. So we just kind of, going into this season, it's kind of like, what is our legacy going to be? Where do we want to end? What do we want this season to be like? So, I know Frank on the position player side, me on the pitcher side, it's kind of like, what are we going to do for these young guys in order to, take it to that next level? Because once we're gone, we have no control. So it's what are they going to do to continue what we've been taught and what we've learned? So, it's at this point, you got to leave it all on the fields and just play the game we know.
So you mentioned not getting beat up by the draft. That's kind of a unique thing as far as college sports, in that that's how baseball does it. But given what's happened in the last year with FBI investigations into basketball and other things, people have talked about, hey, why does baseball have this model and why does it work for them and why can't that work for other sports? Do you feel like the way baseball does it is productive and do you feel like it could work for other sports?
I do. I look at it in the sense that there is no question that in baseball it's a different culture. I think getting to the big leagues, it's a completely different path. You have for instance, a freshman NBA player or freshman college player that goes into the NBA. He goes from being literally being treated pretty well one day, but to being a millionaire the next. These guys, regardless of where they go in the draft, now if they get a huge signing bonus, that's one thing. But most of them are getting a potentially $1,000 or $5,000 bonus in an airline ticket, and they go make $1,000 a month for 6 months. So there's a grind there. I mean, there's an earning there. There's this process of really working extremely hard and having a great understanding of what that process is to make it to the next level. And I think that's why you see so many baseball players that, in my opinion, are very grounded. They're very careful with how they approach things. There's so many that I have seen that I've become acquaintances with or friends with that are very stable in their lives, regardless of the amount of money that they make. There seems to be that understanding of the process, of that work ethic, of that passion that's involved with making it, and there might be a greater appreciation. Now, that's not saying I'm not familiar with basketball or football, but conversely, I think in baseball, it's a pretty good model.
Matt, you look at some of the pitchers that have come out of here the last few years. I mean, obviously TJ, first-round pick 2 years ago. Pitt had a guy pitch in the World Baseball Classic this past year. What's that like for you now as you're draft eligible and you look forward to the season, thinking maybe beyond this year? I mean, I know you're focused on this season, but talking about your future and your career long-term, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm concerned about this season. I'm not worried about the draft or anything like that. But just being able to talk to those guys, just to understand what they've done, how they've gotten to where they are today. I mean, that just helps in itself, just knowing how they got to be, how good they are. Take it for a grain of salt every single day and apply it to these young guys on our team.
Joe, can you talk about some of the guys that you brought in that you think maybe can make an impact early on here?
Absolutely. Because of my, let me take a look at that roster again. I don't want to miss anybody, but you know, when you look at the dynamic of our lineup, you are going to have potentially at any given time, depending on who's on the mound, the 5 to 6 freshmen and sophomores on the field at any given time. So it's going to be a young team, but yet you have guys like this that are kind of anchoring the core of what we do. You know, the new guys, and again, I'm just going down kind of numerically. Bryce O'Farrell, freshman from Canada, that has made a lot of progress. Going to be a good second baseman type guy for us, really good hitter. Connor Perry has shown some really good things in the leadoff spot in the fall, and we'll see how that plays out, you know, this weekend. But obviously, guys like Sabino, Liam, coming back or being eligible, you know, following the transfer, dynamic player. I mean, he's just offensively and defensively and on the bases. He's a playmaker. Alex Amos, you know, as a freshman, got a lot of valuable playing time, as well as, you know, Nico Popa. You have Chris Kappas, another two-way player, play a little outfield for us, runs really well, does a great job at the plate, and also left-handed pitcher. Of course, Calvo and West, you know, you almost consider them new players because they haven't been in the mix. And then David Yanni coming back after, you know, the season-ending injury after the second weekend. I mean, that was made a dramatic impact. Ronnie Washington Jr., really highly touted player out of Texas, no relation. But the kid is dynamic. The ball jumps off his bat in a different way. Just an exciting freshman, and he's going to have a lot of at-bats his freshman year. Of course, you have, R.J. Frewer and Chris Gomez coming back, both sophomores that are going to pitch a lot for us. You have Cole McLaren, probably going to be our primary catcher. Just a good, tough, hard-nosed backstop for us. Pitchers love throwing to him. Has a good feel back there, good understanding. Doesn't overwhelm you with a plus arm or anything. But what impresses me more is how he handles himself, how he controls himself, and that in itself. I'd rather have that type of player than a toolsy player behind the plate. He does all the things we want a catcher to do. And then, Kevin Henriksen, who just pitched for us on the back end, did some really good things for us. And then, of course, Caleb Perry is maybe one of the best gloves that we've had at first base coming back. And then again, the starting pitching with Hammer, Calvo, West, and Matt, of course, and then Frank being, in the middle of that lineup. It's a completely different feel going into this season, and again, it's really a little bit of luck that we didn't get hammered by the draft, and we're staying healthy, and that the guys that were hurt are now healthy. So when you put all those things together, you have a roster that you feel pretty good about.
Frank, do you feel like your depth being tested last year was maybe somewhat of a blessing in disguise as you go into this year because all those guys were able to get some experience?
Without question, being in this conference, if you're coming in as a freshman, it's going to be difficult to compete with older guys that have been here and earn playing time. And like Coach Giordano was saying, especially guys, I could think, guys playing in the outfield with me last year, Nico Popa and even Amos at second, just having guys like that who got as many at-bats, played as many innings as they did last year as freshmen, really sets them up for, a bright future here. So I'm really looking forward to getting out on the field with them.
One of the things I'd just like to add on to that is, we can't teach experience. You have to live it. And one of the things with, our roster situation is, and one of the benefits I think about from our recruiting perspective is, and why we've been so successful developing players that have come in as undrafted players and then leave playing professional baseball, is we're able to get them into the mix early. And that's a huge benefit. So just looking at, for instance, the way Alex is carrying himself, Alex Amos, and Nico, and Dan Hammer, even Yaya, who is, just an electric arm. And, you get a sense that if there's an understanding of what we're going into and the process, which these guys have done a phenomenal job at making sure that everybody in that room understands what the Pitt way is, the Pitt baseball way, and how we conduct ourselves, both on and off the field. That translates not only on the field but off the field as well.
Joe, everybody knows that Pitt went to the ACC primary for football. How tough is it to recruit and to play against warm weather baseball teams?
It's a challenge. I mean, anybody that understands baseball at this level, and many times, Jerry, you've heard me say, this is the big leagues of college baseball. When you look at the RPI rankings, and we've been number 1 2 years out of the last 4, the ACC. That, I believe, and you can check the facts, but I think that's stronger than both basketball and football in the ACC. you know, it's something where every day that you go out, you're facing first-round draft picks. You're facing incredibly talented and deep rosters. You are playing on among the finest baseball facilities in the country. You're facing an incredible amount of resources that are poured into these programs. And we feel, from our perspective, we've been very competitive. When you look at the last 4 years, and we have, I believe, 19 one-run losses in conference. You know, in baseball, that's a base hit. That's making one extra play. That's advancing one base extra. And we're right there. And there is nobody in this building that wants to win more than me. And I know that this team feels the same way. But I can assure you that every day that we go out onto that field, whether it be practice, whether it be in a game, and we represent this university, we are going to do it with the highest degree of integrity. We are going to be great representatives of the university, and we are going to give everything we have when we cross those lines. And it's, again, we believe we can win. We believe that we are in a good position to be successful. But I think that when you look at the big picture, there are some challenges that are inherent that we don't control. And those are things that, are any team that's in a cold weather climate have those challenges. When you look at our schedule, we are playing more than half our schedule on the road. The NCAA statistics, I believe, in any sport is that 65 to 70% of the home teams win. I know that is the case with baseball. So, when you're playing your first 4 weekends on the road, apply that to some of the indoor sports or even the southern sports that are in this conference. You're playing your first 4 or 5 weekends at home. It's a big difference. But it's something that, again, we don't focus on things we don't control. We focus on what we have, what we believe in, what our process is, and on things we can control, especially these guys in that room. I'll do whatever I can, not only while they're here, but they know that I'll be there for them till the day I can't do it anymore.
Matt, why did you choose Pitt?
So, just coming here knowing we were transitioning to the ACC, they're the big dogs in college baseball. Grew up, always wanted to play with the best. Pitt had the facilities. The Cause Field was pretty much brand new at the time when I was being recruited. Meeting with Skip, meeting with the other coaches, it just everything fit. The academic reputation, I'm a business major. Business school has a very good reputation. So, it was a no-brainer, to be honest, coming here.
All right, anybody else?
Frank, I'm going to assume you're a literature major?
Oh, no, actually, no.
Voice major?
I'm a business major as well.
Because of the quote you
Yeah, pretty impressive, Frank.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Joe.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.